Welcome to the Black Hills Small Business Podcast. I'm Tristan Emond with Mindful Living Realty.
And I'm Angelia Dale with Gateway Mortgage. Join us as we sit down with Black Hills small business owners, learn about their businesses, and tell their stories.
We're doing it now on the Black Hills Small Business Podcast. Welcome to the Black Hills Small Business Podcast. Today, we are with Casey at Vita, I probably don't know how to say it right.
Vita Sauna.
Vita, figures, I get it all wrong. I gotta tell you wife, you think I get this stuff right? So thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we just want to talk, first of all, not so much about your business, but about you. Tell us more about you, your family, and just who you are.
Yeah, so Casey, obviously, and I've got a kiddo who's 8, in second grade, almost third. Oh goodness, getting older.
Just wait till they graduate.
I know. I'm already the years are flashing, But my husband is in the military, currently deployed, and he should be back in a couple months. But yeah, so my parents started the business. I'll just preface this with that. They started this, and now I've taken over. So
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's good to segue to talk about your business.
Yeah.
So talk about what you have here and what your services are and what you provide.
So we have the highest quality and freshest products, specifically the extra virgin olive oils, in the world. Nobody has beat us on our quality standards yet, as much as we want them to. I mean, literally, we would love the competition. Nobody has hit those markers yet. And so we have the olive oils, we have the balsamic vinegars from Modena, Italy, and then we have pastas, 2 different pasta suppliers. So some are specifically from Italy, and then others are made down in Colorado. They're flavored, they're amazing. We've got jams, jellies from Stonewall Kitchen. We've got teas from Adagio. We've got popcorn. We've got spices and wholesale grade spices from, literally things that are hard to find is our niche.
Nice.
We have people who come in and they're like, I need this spice. And I'm like, okay. And we get it. And so, yeah, we just a little bit of everything. So everything you would need minus the protein or the, the veggies. So, yeah.
So you talk about spices.
Yeah.
Is it tarragon or
Yep.
saffron?
I have saffron
Is
and
one of the hardest. What's your hardest spice that you probably been asked for?
honestly, so in the more recent times, fenugreek has been a big one.
Yeah.
And then more of your garam masala, your those Middle Eastern spices. I'm trying to think. There was one somebody pointed out the other day, and they're like, I didn't know you sold this. Well, I've looked everywhere for this. I'm like, well, anytime you need something, just let me know. Just let me know. I'll get it.
Well, that's good to know, because like I said, I'm thinking it's just olives, oils, and balsamic vinegars and that kind of thing. So
yeah. So, and literally we've grown, our product line has grown based on customer requests. If I can supply it and I know nobody else in town has it, then I'm going to bring it in. If I can recommend to a neighbor, then I'm going to send them over to a neighbor. But yeah, we've got some pretty unique spices, and like I said, they're wholesale grade, so they're made in small batches, so they're as fresh as they come. And same with our olives too. Our stuffed olives, the almond stuffed ones are hard to find, I guess, and we have those. And but yeah, our olive supplier, we hunted for years, and he phenomenal person, but phenomenal products. So yeah.
good. Yeah, I always thought about just blue cheese or stuffed cheese.
Yeah.
I didn't care about almonds.
Lemon stuffed. Lemon stuffed. So it's the rind of the lemon, and they are so good. So these olives sit in a brine for 6 to 9 months, and then as we order them, they're taking them out and jarring them, but they're reducing the brine to make it from a European palate to an American palate, so a little calmer. But the acidity from the lemon cuts the harshness of the brine, so they're amazing. I love them so much. And I've never been a green olive person, so I love them. They're my favorite. But Yeah.
I'm going to be walking out with some things.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. That's the beauty of these podcasts. She's buying things. Yeah. Like, oh, I didn't know that was going to do that.
Oh, yes. I always like to try those kind of things because we were kind of talking about the classes and stuff like that she has here. So, the
charcuterie board.
I can't say that word.
Yeah. Talk about those classes.
So I kind of, a couple years back, because I started out managing the business for my parents. And that was a long, bumpy road, but started managing that. And I had people asking me all the time, like, Casey, can you do classes? And I'm like, okay, there's clearly a need. So what's going to work? At the time we sold cheeses and meats. And so obviously the easiest thing is going to be charcuterie. And we had a wine supplier who did catering too. And so she came in, did the class, sold out fast. So we did that one. I created a dog bone making class that uses our oil and our olive oils. And then I made a kids class making like your own jelly and making a peanut butter and jelly, sandwich. And then I've created like a salad class. And then more recently, we brought the charcuterie back, but we also partnered with Victoria's Gardens and we did a centerpiece class for the holidays. So in that class, to incorporate our products, we did the oil, vinegar, and bread, and then wine sampling as well, and which I guess I forgot to mention we sell wine too, but so we did that, went great. We did the charcuterie again for the holidays of, prepping your table. And then I had a company get a hold of me and say, hey, we want to do our holiday class. Can you do a class for our company? And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I can do that. So work through the allergy issues and we did an antipasto class. So in, the easier way to say it, it's a fancy salad minus the pasta. So instead of a pasta salad, it's a regular salad with a lot funner, more unique items in it. Right. And so had fun, did that, and now we're doing a tea party for Mother's Day, and which isn't a class per se, but just something fun and unique for people to do in town, especially to celebrate moms. And what else? That'll be it for the summer. Let everybody go out, camp, and have fun.
When they come back, back to class. Yeah.
School, once kids are back in school, then we'll start the classes again. Yep. So that'll give me all summer to create some new ones. So and we have this, backspace. We have the front. So we have tons of availability to do small. We can do big. So yeah.
Well, it's just something different, other than like getting out and whether it's painting or something like that, but getting in as a group and doing that.
Yep.
Thing, so.
Different things to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
And everybody loves food. So.
Oh, yes.
The tea party, it'll be a 3-course meal catered by Karen A. She is going to do the food for it. And then, I turned it into from a one-time thing to, I've invested so much into all the cups and the saucers and the teapots and the serving trays.
It's about the experience, so you got to do it right.
Literally, it's a Mad Hatter tea party, so it can't be sets. It has to be pieces, just pieced together. It's been a lot of eBay, and I went over to the antique mall and bought them out of a lot of stuff.
Local helping local.
Yeah, literally. Exactly. And so it'll be a Mad Hatter tea party. So now that we have all those pieces, I can offer those at both of our locations of doing tea, birthday parties, or, just a afternoon tea, and for ladies, whatever floats anybody's boat. If they want to do a bridal shower, I can do it. So it works. I can do mimosas because we sell the
not everybody's going to think about coming here for a bridal shower, but it would be kind of a cool
well,
especially like being able to do like a tasting thing for like their wedding and stuff like that.
Yep.
And you said you have another store?
We do. So we have another store in Casper, Wyoming. That was actually the original location, and then Rapid City was our second one, opened 2 years later. So, yeah.
And you've been here for a while. So when I had my candy store, you were across the street.
Going on 10 years now.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I remember when you first opened, I remember, because my wife, as I mentioned, my wife's Italian, so you know the vinegar and the balsamic vinegar and the bread, that's their thing. So
Yes.
she went and tried a bunch, and we got a little sampler, I think.
Yep.
And, you know, so yeah, she's big into that kind of stuff. Speaking of my Italian wife, she has also lately been gluten intolerant.
Okay.
And so the noodles have been a challenge, but I've heard that noodles from Italy don't affect those people. Is that true?
I haven't hunted into that because it's been popping up a lot more lately. It's the type of wheat that they use is completely different than the wheat in the States that we use.
Right, and you stock some of those stuff from Italy, correct?
Yep. There is one, I've got to figure it out. There's one particular type of grain that they're using that I had somebody ask for. The ones I have right now don't have that, but like I said, I mean, they're imported from Italy, so it's a completely different process anyways. But I am on the hunt for the other one. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. Right. So, but yeah, no, it's supposed to be people with gluten intolerance can take it. Obviously, celiacs, they can't consume it, but gluten intolerance are okay with it. So yeah, I'm on the hunt for it.
Nice.
But you did say you do have gluten-free pasta.
And I do, yep. Okay. I have gluten-free pastas from our company in Colorado. I also have, so they're flavored ones. I also have the gluten-free from Italy, and then I have Stonewall Kitchen makes a gluten-free pancake and waffle mix. My kiddo is actually gluten intolerant, and so while we carried all that before, I've really ramped up that line to have, because I've noticed, I mean,
there's not much here.
There's not,
and you really got to look for it.
Or it's really, really expensive, and so the prices that we have for our pastas are the same for our gluten-frees. So they're pretty comparable in pricing. So I'm like, why would I not do that? You know, right. And I know where they're coming from too. That was the other biggest thing, is that I know who's making these. Whereas a lot of those, you know, the grocery store ones, I don't know what they're doing, what they're using. And
what's the process
to
make it gluten free?
Yeah,
right?
and these companies I do. And so, I've really ramped those up over the last, I'd say, year, to the point that I've even had people like comment as they're walking, I didn't know you carried this. Like, it's so nice to see your selection of pastas. And I'm like, thanks, you know, started with my kiddo, but I'm glad, you know, other people can appreciate it too. So, and they've done really well, and I think they taste, I actually was very surprised, at a lot of the times they get really mushy, and these hold up really well, and they taste really good. So I've been pleasantly happy with them. Nice. So, yeah.
Tell the wife.
Yeah, you should be walking out with some.
Well, and the other thing too, here's the other thing. So most of your oils and vinegars sold at the grocery store can have different products in them that would trigger allergies. And sadly enough, they don't have to tell you anything because they're not regulated in the United States, oil and vinegar. So that's why we started our business. My dad actually read a book. How long has it been now? 14 years ago. And we saw the book, and he was like, no wonder I feel like junk. I'm putting junk in my body and I'm getting junk in return. And so he set forth on this mission to find the best of the best, and we did. And he called them up. It was the funniest thing. He calls up the owner and he goes, you are going to teach me everything that there is about olive oil. And she was more than happy to, which was great. Yeah. She was more than happy to, but he was just like, you are going to do this. And she was like, okay, what do you want to know? Here you go. Yeah. And so, and I mean, that's their mission is, you know, and same with our store. Our mission is to inform. I would rather inform, I mean, while sales, you know, keep me open, I'd rather inform everybody on what they're buying, what we have, so that they have the knowledge to make the right choice. And if they choose not to use our products, that's totally fine. Like, that is your choice. But at least you know what you're putting in your body.
Oh, I didn't realize the oil and vinegar weren't regulated.
Yeah. Honey's not regulated either. So the FDA do not regulate those products. And so, there's kind of this wonky, like, gray area because California a couple years back put in some regulations for their suppliers. They're not that stringent. You have to produce a lot in order to test one thing in your oil, and even that one thing doesn't tell you everything, but it's a step in the right direction. But it's just strictly people producing in California, and they have to produce a lot in order to fall under that. So whereas like our products, every single one coming in, even possibly coming in, is tested so that they know it meets their guidelines, that it falls within their own regulations, which is why, I mean, I can without any doubt say that, you know, we have the freshest, the highest. And so we're getting new batch every 6 months. So right now we just switched to our northern hemisphere. So Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain. I choose not to bring in California. We have access to it. We have tons of them. But these other areas seem to pull a little better. So, and are preferred by our customers. So while I always have access to them, I just opt to go with the other ones. Sure. And then come about August timeframe, July, August, we'll get all our southern hemispheres. And so you'll have Peru and South Africa and Australia, rarely Argentina, but we've had it before. So we have Chile too. That's the other one.
I didn't know it was such international.
I know, it's crazy. And especially like, to me, the mind-boggling, like when I think of those areas, I don't think of a climate that can sustain olive trees. And while they're more mild harvest, some of their products are phenomenal coming out of there. And groves that they're winning awards, you know, year after year. So that's also nice to have that aspect. And like this year we just brought in one. It's more expensive. It's pretty pricey oil, but the quality of it won first place in the world's healthiest olive oil competition. So they compete on the oleocanthal, which is the antioxidant of the product, and they won. And this year it's just as high. And so I haven't seen any results yet, but I wouldn't doubt if they don't make it again, because it's a powerhouse of an oil, and it tastes really good. So
do you see, you know, I've read a lot about like seed oils because they're good for our bodies and the inflammation. So do you see a lot more like those type of countries using more olive oil than seed oil like we do?
Oh yeah. So I mean, if you look back historically, like the Italians, they've always used olive oil. Like that has always been they aren't using, and it's extra virgin. They aren't using virgin. They aren't using olive oil. They're using extra virgin olive oil, the first press, the cold press. And they had these stone mills that they, you know, in the middle of the town that they would take their olives to, crush them, and, you know, take their jugs and walk home with oil. And so, I mean, and these people are living years longer than our society is. And it's just about, I mean, not only, again, the quality of the products, but the fact, like, there are so many health benefits in an oil that people don't realize. And I was actually talking to a customer yesterday about how he read, I don't know who the book was, anything like that, but he said he read that the seed oils are starting to, like, they're seeing that the side effects from seed oils are horrendous. And so they're really starting to doctors are starting to promote the olive oil, you know, lifestyle. And it's been interesting to see that change in people over the last couple of years. I mean, COVID, people stayed at home and they were cooking their own meals but I mean, you really saw that need and desire to be healthy really start to kick in. Because while you couldn't go sit in a movie theater, you could go walk outside. And so they were being more active, things like that. And so it's definitely been a change over the last couple of years.
For sure.
In my opinion, a positive direction, as far as health goes.
Just awareness of that.
Yeah, and literally, even like your wording is exactly awareness. Like, and again, as long as you are aware of what is going in your body and you make that choice, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. So, yeah.
So you told us pretty much your story, but you want to kind of get into your story a little more.
My story is a little different.
Yeah, what made you decide, I want to run this place now?
Okay, so when my parents first started the business back in Casper, they not only had the olive oil store, they had a kitchen store and a coffee, tea, candy, and soda store that you're very familiar with. And so they would put me in the olive oil store. And I'm the first to admit it, I hated being in the olive oil store. I hated it. I didn't care about the products. I didn't believe anything my parents said. Of course, I was young. I was probably 18. Oh, yeah. I was probably even younger than that at the time. And so, but I was there to help my parents. So I was like, please don't put me in the olive oil store. Casey, you have to be well versed. I'm like, oh, fine, okay. So I ended up deciding I was going to go to school. So I got accepted to Black Hills State, got a job at the hospital. And had met my boyfriend before moving up here, now husband. And some time went by, I found out I was pregnant, and I was almost due and found out I was in heart failure. And I was like, oh, well, I guess everything my parents have said all these years is true. Like, I should have been listening to them. That was a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, right. You know, I'm still young at the time. I think I was 23, 24. And so I was, I have a son, healthy, happy boy. And but I realized this. And after having him, I called my parents and I said, hey, can I come back to the store? Which again was another hard pill to swallow. And my dad says, okay, well, what's going to be different? Yeah. Oh, my dad is, he's an entrepreneur. Like, he doesn't mess around, even with his kids. And so I said, you were right. Again, hard pill to swallow to tell your parents that they were actually right all those years. And so I said, I'm going to care. I'm going to take care in what I'm putting in my body. Like, I get it. I get it. So he goes, well, your timing couldn't be more perfect because our manager just put their notice in. I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. We love this. So I left the hospital. I started managing the business and did the same training. I mean, while I knew some of the stuff, I didn't really know the stuff. So my mom spent about a month with me and explained it, and everything else had to do what any other employee would have to do. And so I began my passion of A, consuming healthier products, and B, literally the store. It's been my life for 7 years now. So then I left for a while to finish school, and I was on the last semester, and the plan was never to come back. Okay, I'd left. I was going to graduate. I was going to go find a real big girl job and move on with my life. Yeah. And so I I left, and my parents called me a couple months later and said, can you come back? Just very short term. We'll put the business up for sale in July, and we will not keep you here. And my mom was very more head set on this than my dad was. My dad wanted me to take over. And so they followed through. They put the store up for sale in July of 21. And then I graduated in August and had been hunting for jobs, and nothing was paying what I was worth. I have 7 years of management experience. I have 2 bachelors and an associate's. And so I was like, nothing in our area is paying what I am, like what my value actually is. And even, that was even me going on the low end of stuff. So, my dad calls me one day and he goes, I think you just need to come buy the business. I said, well, Dad, I got a degree and 2 degrees at that for me not to stay at the business. Like, that was a whole plan. He goes, no, I really think you need to buy the business. And I said, look, I'll make you a deal. If by this date, I do not even have a prospect of a job, I will buy the business. He's like, okay, I will deal with that. And I said, okay. So that day came and went. Called my dad the next day and I said, so I don't even have a prospect of a job. So I guess I'm buying the business. And he's like, good, I think you need to anyway. Of course, Dad.
Parents in there always
the best,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, always. So, so we proceeded with, we kept it very hush-hush. And I felt bad for our customers because I have some that I try to meet and learn something about everybody that comes in here. Even if it's just, I know your face and I know you've been here, I try to remember everybody's face, right? So we have a lot of customers that I've really gotten to know over the years, and they were coming to me like, Casey, what is going on with the store? I'm like, I can't tell you. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot tell you. Just know it is fine. Like, everything will be fine. It is fine. And they're like, okay. So I wrote a couple press releases, and I don't remember what the actual date was, but I had one of those specific customers came in and they were like, you said you were going to tell us. So we're only here to know what's going on. And I said,
not leaving until.
Yeah, literally.
Die-hard olive oil fans.
Well, but the crazy thing is they wanted it to stay in the family, like, and because they knew me, they knew us.
They knew what to expect when
the
Yeah.
quality is
Yeah.
not going to go downhill.
Yeah, nothing's gonna change. And so, this one couple comes in and they literally, we're not going to leave without an answer. And so I was cracking up at the time, but I'm like, all right. I said, this isn't public knowledge because it still hadn't been released. We didn't even tell our landlord. We didn't tell anybody. And so I said, I'm buying the business. And their like sheer excitement was just like, okay. Like, I did the right thing. Like, oh, okay. You just get this, like, wave of emotion because you're like, okay, what I didn't think was my path is actually my path. And so of course, it was right in the middle of the holidays, too. And so we were busy. Like, the day was busy. And so, like, I felt really good after that. And so I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm going the right path. And my husband, of course. Oh, I love my husband. But he is just like, what are you doing, Casey?
You didn't mention it to him before?
I kind of did. But like, he knows me so well that no matter what I do, while he may not agree with it at the time, like, he supports me.
He'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, he just, and nothing against him or his family. None of them are business owners, so like he doesn't know.
Totally different.
Yeah, and so whereas me, I mean, I grew up in the depths of entrepreneurial like lifestyle, and so so we're completely different backgrounds. So he was just like, you know, all the minor worries he had, but yeah, the day, I mean, literally it came like I committed to my parents, and then like I think a month later, I was like, okay, by the way, like this is happening. And he's just like, you see us reeling in his mind, and you're just like, it will be okay. And
well, I mean, in his credit, I mean, you talked to him. I don't want to be part of this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And so he's like, wait a minute, you just said all this. Now you're doing this.
He's like, why did you go to school for all this stuff? And I'm like, on the plus side, I mean, literally, my degrees roll over very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a associate's in business. which was what made me decide I did not want to own a business. That was the degree, which is why I was like dead set. But then I also have a corporate communications degree and a graphic design degree. So all of those things, I mean, I worked at a marketing firm for my internship. Like all of those things are in the business. Yeah. So it worked out really well. And I, explained that to him. I'm like, everything I went to school for does work. I'm not losing or wasting any of that. And so, yeah, so December something, the Journal wrote an article about it, and of course it was then out there. Like, we had new people coming in, like, I've always seen your business, but we haven't been in, you're the new owner, and I'm like, yep, that's me, like, that is me. And so, shortly after it had been published, I, of course, had gone to our landlord and said, hey, not sure if you saw, but I own the store now, and I need a new lease agreement because ours was expired, and we weren't able to work it out. And so, come to find out, Justin had approached me from the ale house and said, hey, I see you're moving, like, that's an awesome space, like, just being super positive and super nice about it. And he goes, I need to tell you a secret. And I was like, okay. He goes, we're the reason you can't rent your space anymore. And I was like, why didn't you just tell me this, Justin? Like, I've been so mad. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. He goes, we didn't want you to be mad, like, which is why we didn't tell you. And I'm like, I thought, like, a competitor was moving in here. Like, I've been stressed. Like, I just announced I bought this. And now I have to move. Like, literally, I only have a couple months. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. And I said, look, Justin, I said, are you still going to buy products from me? Absolutely. I said, then have at it.
Yeah.
Have the space.
Yeah.
I will gladly move. And so,
win-win.
Yeah. And again, I mean, just that conversation reassured my feelings of Rapid and the business community. We have a very, how can I help you and how can you help me versus me, right? It's definitely a how can we help each other type of area. And so, I mean, Justin was great. If I needed anything, he was like, you need help moving? I got a van. We can load your stuff in it, go across the street. Like, I'm like, no, Justin, I hired somebody.
Oh, that's a perfect move too.
Yeah, literally.
Sunday night.
It was great. I hired a company in town. Awesome. They don't own it anymore, but awesome people. And 4 guys, I think, came over. I had my shelving guy who made all our shelves undo them all. And as he's undoing them, they're moving them over. And they literally had our entire store moved in 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And our shelves were back up. And mind you, everything was just in it.
Yeah.
But,
not organized, but still.
I mean, moved. It was here in 3 hours. And so, yeah, it was a great thing. It gave us way more space. So we almost doubled space, which was awesome. Allows us to do classes and expand product lines. Because in preparation of me taking over, I had brought in the Stonewall Kitchen up here. I had brought in the Adagio, and those were all things we already sold in Casper. And so I felt, why don't we carry them? And I had people for years who were ordering from our Casper store and shipping it up to Rapid. So it's like, why would I not just bring it in? So then fast forward 4 months, probably 4 months, from the time, like January 1st, fast forward, and my dad calls me. He goes, either you're going to buy it or we're putting it up for sale, Casper. Oh. And I said, well, I've already seen how the last 4 months have gone with you and I as family owning these two businesses separately. I'm going to buy it. And he's like, okay. We planned it all out, and he owned the building at the time that it was in, and he had sold it. And so there was an article that came out, and I said, I think we need to ride this wave of new ownership and supporting the new owners. And he was like, I completely agree. And so it went from buying it in like June, July, August to buying it in May. And I was like,
nothing like, so just do it, let's go.
Yeah. And my husband's like, seriously, Casey? And I'm like, it will be fine. We will be okay. It's worked out thus far. We're doing great. And so he was like, okay. He goes, and the one thing he always has said, I'm not helping you. Like, he will support me. He didn't want to be in the store helping.
Oh, yes. Nope.
Yeah.
And he's not a people person. He's really not. I love him to death, but he's not a people person. So, so this year, we were doing well, and I had gotten a ton of corporate orders, and which again goes back to the community. Like, big businesses are shopping local, which is awesome and heartwarming, and repetitively too. And so I tell him, I'm like, I'm gonna drown. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I had no staff at the time. Nobody. It was literally me working 6 days a week. And he's like, well, I'm taking 2 weeks off before he deploys. And I said, you're gonna help me? And he goes, no, I'm not. And I said, well, then I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I can't go to your deployment ceremony. I can't do this. I can't do that. And he's like, yes, you can, you're fine. And so he ends up just randomly showing up and was just like, what do you need me to do? And I was like, oh,
thank you.
Like,
it was always the plan to surprise you.
Yeah, I'm like, thanks. And I was like, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, and I need you to do this. And he's like, okay. And just like, this back room was covered in products, boxes, tool for bows, you name it. Like, this room was just, it looked like a hoarder. Like, it was so much stuff. And so so he helped me for the 2 weeks that he was off, even went and delivered stuff with me. And I'm like, see, had you not come and helped me, we wouldn't have spent these valuable 2 weeks together.
Nice. 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Like, even when, after hours, like, if he had the ability to do it, like, if he had done it before I had him do it. So if it was restocking my shelves, he did it. If it was putting products in a box, while it wasn't pretty, he got them in the box, then I would, make it pretty. And so, yeah, it became, and my kiddo, he was here. It became a whole family experience, which my kiddo spent all summer here. Went to Casper, did a lemonade stand in Casper for their lemonade day while I worked, and used our products, and he and I worked with that. And so
planting the seed.
Yeah. And so we, like he had to be here for one class, and he now wants to be at every class. And he was great. He didn't say a word. He sat there, and like people were even like, "Oh my gosh, your kid's here!" Like surprised at the end of it, because all of a sudden he's popped up. And so like he loves the products too. Like he'll drink the vinegar. I mean, he started at a very young age of having vinegar and water, and that was his juice. And so he loved that. I mean, it's crazy to think, but so much healthier than the juices that you buy at the store. I mean, no juice I don't care if it's organic or not, can come into comparison with vinegar and water. And even seltzer water, I mean, then it's a soda. And so he would put it in yogurt. I mean, this kid had it in a lot. And so his favorite thing in our store, of course, is the vinegar. And so every time, it doesn't matter if he's had it before, every time he comes in, "Mom, can I have some vinegar?" "No, you will drink the entire store. Like, we have our vinegar at home. You can use that, but like, no."
That might be another class, because I didn't realize you could. I mean, I know apple cider vinegar.
Oh, yeah.
Water, but you have black cherry vinegar out
there. So I have one lady in particular. She buys the cinnamon pear. Yeah, cinnamon pear. And she puts it in seltzer water, and she goes, "It tastes just like Coke." She goes, "I haven't touched Coke in a very long time." Yeah, I thought it was. I'm not a.
Try that?
Maybe I should.
I was like, I'm not a huge like fan of that, but like the lemon, I had a soda that wasn't soda. Okay, it ended up just being seltzer water. And so, or carbonated water. So so I put the lemon vinegar in it, like a lemon soda. Like it was great, perfect. And I drank the whole thing, because seltzer water, in my opinion, is not very tasty on its own. So,
but like we had talked about like kind of other questions, because you mentioned about how the area is.
Yeah.
Helpful in this area.
Yeah, you mentioned a few times. Businesses supporting businesses.
Yep.
Other businesses supporting local.
Yep.
What are the other advantages of
Rapid City? The other benefits of the area. Okay, so there's a lot. And I mean, literally, so Ale House, Independent Ale House, and now Windsor Block both buy our products. Pour 54 buys our products. Firehouse has used our products. Wine Cellars uses our products. All the way up into North Dakota, there's a pizza place in Whitewood, the Iron Eye Bar. They use our stuff on their pizzas. So we, in the area, I mean, literally, again, and I count North Dakota, I count any part of South Dakota as in our area, because few and far in between, and Dakotas. They want to support other businesses, and so you have that. So then you also have. I know most of the business owners downtown, and even not downtown, even just in our area. I know most of them. I have tons of them on my personal Facebook page. And to the point that they have reached out and said, "Hey, if you need anything while your husband's gone, like, just let me know."
Wow, yeah.
And they sincerely mean that. It's not just a
platitude.
Just
to be nice.
I mean, literally, Michelle over at Firehouse, she was like, literally, send your son over, like, play with our kids. Like, absolutely. I had Christy at Elks, and she goes, "You just send him over." She goes, "If you need him, like, out of your hair, just send him over. Like, he'll watch a movie, like, it'll be great." And I was like, okay. And so, I mean, you have that sense of community. And then
almost family.
Literally, I mean, they're my family away from family, like, because none of my family lives here. I have nobody here on my side. So I have these connections. Even Stacy over at Hydration Station, I called her one day. I was like, "Hey, I may need you to pick up Weston. Could you do that?" And she's like, "Absolutely. Just let me know." So they have stepped up in ways that I would have never asked anybody to or expected anybody to, especially
theoretically a competing business.
Yeah, you know, anything like that. And so so it's been, I mean, that sense of community and family is there, and then you have, I mean, the amount of tourism we get, and these people coming to town are, I mean, it's so funny to see. They always mention how nice people are. And it's, I mean, every time, and while I see it and I know that, like, I'm like, where do you come from?
Is this normal?
Like, look at people's eye and things like that. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's South Dakota.
Yeah, and I mean, I grew up in Ohio, like, so I mean, I've seen other places. I was a well-traveled child, and I get it, but when you live here, you may not notice that as much, whereas when an outsider coming in is saying, God, everybody here is just so nice, and I'm like, I feel so bad for you. You can move here, it's okay, like, we'll let you in, it's fine. And so I mean, you have that other aspect of, you know, the not only tourism and the consistent change of people coming through, but also on the other note of that, of how nice everybody is. And again, goes back to family and community and everything like that. But I mean, it's a very welcoming place for new businesses, for new people. And, you know, I feel like we understand that we have it good, and we may not always want to share that good, but we will always welcome new people. And so, you know, we're a big little town. I think I saw numbers of reaching of like 112,000 people by the end of this year, I think is what's speculated.
In the big area.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. And so, I mean, but it, again, while we have that population, because it's so spread out,
You don't feel like it.
Yeah, you don't feel like it. And so, or you do feel like it. I mean, there's some people I see, you know, comment on Facebook posts like, what? We're a little town? Like, what do you mean?
It's huge.
Like,
Depending where you're coming from.
I mean, and literally, like me, after we left Ohio, which is 500,000 people where we lived, to 500,000 in the state of Wyoming, you've got like a whole different perspective on life at that point, because your town is 50,000 and was smaller when I first moved there. To here, this is my happy medium between both places. You know, we've got a little more food options. We've got a really good, I'm going to just say it again, a very good community that I don't always find. And so it's just, there's so many pluses to living here, as well as, I mean, owning a business here, because I have people still who come in, oh, we haven't been in here for years, but it, you know, life just got away from us. And I get that. I totally get that. If I didn't have to work every day, I would be doing what you're doing. I agree. Right. It's fine. So it's definitely, you know, a very, very nice place to own a business and live.
Thanks everyone for listening to our small business podcast here in the Black Hills. See you next time in the Black Hills Small Business Podcast.
See ya.
I hope you enjoyed that story as much as we did.
We'll put all the contact information of every business in the show notes or the description below. Be sure to check them out and support our local small businesses.